Hi, Joseph. My name is Kelly C. It's nice to meet you. I'm glad that we are able to meet.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
That's great to hear. I'm excited to hear that. Before we go ahead and start in our first meeting, there's just a couple of things I want to go over. Just some information that I need to provide you with, given that it is our first meeting, and um, just kind of set the tone for our meeting and what you can expect for today. Okay.
Okay.
The first thing I want to discuss is a professional disclosure statement, which these are documents that I had sent to you. You had a chance to review them. So we're just going to kind of briefly discuss them here just to make sure you have all the information that you need going into this. And so essentially what this professional disclosure statement is I'm a graduate student working towards the completion of my master's degree, which you saw in the form in professional counseling. I'm currently practicing counseling techniques, and therefore sessions like this will be recorded. However, only my professor and my fellow classmates would be able to have access to see these types of recordings. These are not recordings that would be kept in long term. And the recording will be destroyed at the end of the semester. And there are some limitations to the counseling services that I can provide. It is not possible for me to guarantee any specific results regarding your counseling goals. However, we will work very hard to achieve the best possible result for you. And so I'd like to just kind of state your client rights so that you are aware. It is your right at any time to inquire about the process and the procedures that we would use during our counseling relationship. You also have the right to refuse or request changes to any of those suggestions, processes, and techniques that we create together throughout counseling. If at any time you feel that you're not satisfied with my services, you will be able to inform me or my supervisor, which you will have their contact information. Once you've begun counseling with me, there is absolutely no obligation to continue. You have the right to discontinue counseling at any time. The only thing I ask is that you would participate in a termination session with me. And should you desire a referral to another therapist, that's something that I will certainly be able to provide you with. My services are rendered in a professional manner that is consistent with ethical standards set by the American Counseling Association. That is an association that sets the ethics, laws, and codes that professional counselors and students have to adhere by when working with clients. If you have a complaint concerning any type of malpractice, this can be reported to my supervisor, which would also be kept confidential. Everything that we discuss in our session today and sessions going forward will be kept confidential except these next sections that I will read to you. If I determine that you are an imminent danger to yourself or others, if you report any type of child or elder abuse or neglect, if your records are ever subpoenaed by a court of law, if you disclose any sexual contact with a mental health provider with whom you've had a professional relationship with, if information is ever requested by your HMO or your insurance company, if I'm ever directed by you in writing to provide or disclose your information to someone that you choose to, and if you were to bring a malpractice suit against me. Those are the only instances or reasons why I would have to break confidentiality of the information that we share in our sessions. So you are aware that the session may be recorded. This recording is strictly just for the benefit of my evaluation throughout my counseling program. And if with the recording could only be viewed by my instructor and classmates, the recording will be destroyed by the completion of this course. And with your signature here, you're indicating that you have read, understood, and agree to the agreement and to the rights that we have discussed, which I see that you have signed here. Are there any questions or concerns? Is there anything that you feel maybe you need a little bit more information on regarding this disclosure?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so just kind of setting the tone for our initial meeting here. Essentially, with an initial first meeting, it's kind of an introductory phase, and we go over our disclosure statement, just kind of setting the tone of who I am, what is the extent of my role, what the purpose of these meetings are, and then, of course, just an introduction session to kind of get to know each other, talk about your counseling goals. And so this session will be heavily more on initial conversation, getting more details, presenting your initial concerns, and then some goal setting at the end of our counseling session to set the tone for what future sessions can look like, what you could expect from me when we meet again. Okay.
Okay.
And so I see that you filled out your assessment intake form. As we see, this is just basically kind of information about yourself, which I see you've provided here, and kind of the direction for counseling. So I'm going to start with this and just kind of ask you some questions, and then we'll just kind of get into the things you've provided me here. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I see here that you notated your reasons for seeking counseling services would be anxiety related to large crowds, causing anger and feelings of wanting to retreat or leave. Can you tell me a little bit about what exactly that means, or if there are any type of instances that you know occur to mind when you think of that?
Um, yeah, I don't do very well in large crowds, mostly just due to, I would say, freedom of movement and probably just some things just off of my being ex-military. But a lot of people obviously have the freedom to do and go however they want to, but I have a big issue with people just kind of always being in the way and me wanting to get in, get do my stuff and then get out. Um, I feel that just people being in the way kind of restricts that, and just the just that along with like the loud noises and everything kind of just gives me issues.
Okay, so it sounds like when you find yourself in an area with a lot of people, restricted movement, crowded spacing, you feel that it's if I may, boxing you in. It's preventing you from being able to assert yourself or do the things in which you've set your mind to do for the day. And a lot of that can lead into that militaristic mindset where you have a plan, you have a goal, you're trying to meet that, and then you're in this area with these other variables being people, and that's kind of hindering you from being able to complete the things that you need. And of course, the loud noises and the crowding begins to bring up these feelings of anxiety, is what you've marked here. Are there any particular instances that you notice is more frequent than other instances? Is this kind of a generalized anywhere you go?
Um, no, I would say it's more or less like getting things done type of thing. Not really like just out and about having fun or going somewhere, no, like knowing that you're going to be in large crowds, like maybe a concert or like a sporting event or something like that. That doesn't have the bigger issue because I'm there for a specific reason. Like I don't have that need to want to like get in, get out, and go about my day. Like I'm there for a specific reason. And once I don't have the control on timing of that, like it's just over whenever it's over. But going somewhere and needing to pick something up, grocery shopping, um, anything else where I kind of leave that like responsibility up to like myself. I want to get in, get out, but it's really hard to do that when there's a lot of people around, and then the anxiety and blood pressure and everything goes up, and then it just spirals from then.
Okay, so you're noticing this more when you have particular goals and responsibilities in mind tailored to the event. Whereas if you can find yourself in a leisurely type activity, like you're saying, sporting events, a concert, something enjoyable, you don't feel the pressure or the anxiety of the large crowds or people being around because you're in a relaxed state of mind. Whereas when you have a specific set of goals or responsibilities or a time limit, and you find yourself in those large crowds, restricted movement, it increases that anxiety because you have a vision in mind, a goal set, and it's not being made in a timely manner or in the way you or have envisioned it. Okay.
Correct.
Um, have you ever sought out any type of professional counseling therapy regarding this issue before?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I know you haven't sought out any type of professional counseling or therapy, but have you tried anything yourself to handle the situation, to make it easier, to make you feel better? Have you any remedies of your own?
Not besides just staying away from it as much as possible, like
Okay.
distancing myself.
Okay, so your best or your methods that you've tried yourself is just trying to avoid
Hmm.
versus other methods of while you're in this situation, trying to avoid the situation or maybe find ways to do it differently that avoids the people being there.
Right.
Okay. Um, so there's a few emotions that you listed on here kind of high that I just wanted to ask you about just to get a little bit more details. I see that you marked down anger, hostility, and irritable. When do you feel those the most?
Um, I'd probably say in the middle of it. If it's something that I know will happen, like maybe it's a busy weekend, like a holiday or something, I may be irritable like going into it. Um, but it's mostly like in the middle of it.
Okay, so most of the time regarding anger, hostility, and irritable, you're feeling those when you are in the presence of those large crowds, the restricted movement, you're not capable of meeting those objectives. That is when the anger, hostility, and the irritable nature begins to arise. You're not coming to the situation with it, it's happening in that moment.
Correct.
And do you have any personal thoughts as to what you think that anger, hostility, irritableness is directly tied to, or?
Mm, I mean, I guess it could possibly be like a selfish thing on my end, and then just thinking that the other people are selfish, just kind of being in the way, doing their own thing, and not realizing that they're living their own life, but they're affecting my life being in the way.
Okay. So feeling that maybe the people around you are living in their own mindset, whereas you're also living in your own mindset. And then those two mindsets are kind of clashing in the moment of a shared space.
Right.
Okay. I noticed that you also put on here an 8 for judgment. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Probably goes back into what I was saying, just judging the other people of uh why are you not just fulfilling this issue and then going on about your day instead of just kind of lazily walking around, just not really knowing where you're trying to go is probably the bigger issue that I have. A lot of people just seem to just be in the way, not really knowing where they need to go, and uh, just yeah, just being in my way where I know where I'm trying to get to, and then get out of there and go about my day.
Would you say that you experience this feeling of judgment towards others frequently, or only when you find yourself in those situations of that rising anger and irritable, you feel yourself being more judgmental then?
Mm, I kind of always have that judgment. I guess it's more because of just always going through it, but I definitely like 100% of the time feel it whenever I go through it. But I just have that kind of like lingering uh thought process of people never really know where they're going. They're just kind of going as they with the breeze type of thing.
Okay, so in those moments in the large crowds with the anger and the hostility arising, you're a bit more judgmental than the average person on a on a daily basis, passing semi-judgment here and there, and then later reflecting and realizing that, you know, that may not be a valid judgment or, not my place to judge. Whereas in those moments, it feels a little bit easier to judge more strictly, just given those emotions that you're experiencing and the situation just not going how you envisioned.
Right.
Okay. And then you also marked pretty high for PTSD. Can you tell me about that as well, too?
Just where the loud noises and stuff come from, it kind of triggers everything that I've went through as far as being deployed and stuff while in the military. Yeah, it's just once that starts, things kind of just spiral out of control a little bit, and that kind of goes hand in hand with wanting to hurry up and get out of there and just be out of the situation.
Okay. So do you feel your militaristic mindset and, the PTSD related symptoms, you have, or would you say that you have a particular goal or a set of goals in mind, an objective to complete? And when you're being hindered from completing that objective by a large crowd that isn't, you're not able to pass through and complete your objectives, that is when those sensations of maybe the loud noises appear to be a bit more easier to hear, easier to realize that it's happening and going on around you because you're stopped and you're forced to sit in the moment of those items happening around you versus just being able to go and complete objectives and leave? Or do you hear those loud noises as soon as you enter the crowd, as soon as you enter the space where there's a lot of people? Are you already subjected to an overwhelming sense of loud noises and people? Or does it feel
Um,
more in the moment of when you've been restricted and boxed in, then the noises start to get louder?
yeah, I think it's like it's always like in the moment. Like I said, usually with large crowds, like like it's going to be a large crowd with holidays and stuff. It'll probably start that uneasiness will start ahead of time, like during the process of like, getting ready, knowing that you have to go here, stuff like that. But um, when it's one of those things where it's just a normal weekend, but you unfortunately just went during a time that everybody and their mother decided to be there, it normally happens in the moment. And then the initial trigger of just anything that happens that that's when the piling on starts.
Okay, so it sounds like you're stating that you're already going into this situation with this preconceived idea, given just natural factors, holiday season, maybe it's a weekend, it's a common busy hour for people to be there. So you're already coming to the event or to the crowd, to the place, realizing, okay, there's probably going to be an overwhelming amount of people here, and I've experienced this before. This is what my last experience was, so that it heightened anxiety is kind of already arising. So when you're walking in, you feel that maybe it's easier to already pick up on there's a lot of people here, there's a lot of noises here. Oh, this area looks too blocked in. I can't walk this way. And then it just gets more intense the more you experience it.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Um, just a couple more of these here. You marked high for the anxiety and the nervousness, which I feel what you're stating, we're probably tying that into the anxiety and the nervousness, not only going into the situation, but experiencing within the situation.
Right.
Okay. And then we have stress, temper, low tolerance. Are those also mostly in relation to when you're in the middle experiencing those, or are you experiencing those outside of those situations regularly all the time?
No, it's just only in those situations and then kind of on the back end, like once I'm leaving and I'm getting in the car and stuff, I still have that like heightened sense of anger and stuff. But as get closer and closer to home, those things start to die off and everything starts to become normal again.
Okay. Um, a couple of things that you marked on here that I wanted to touch on before we go into some goal setting. Um, I see on here that you had some fears and concerns of counseling being opening up, feeling vulnerable to it not working or helping. Can you kind of just add a little bit of context to that?
I've just always been like a want to try to fix it myself type of person and not have my I don't know, I guess like my inner issues and demons be out to the public for somebody else to know of. And I guess it's more of a building a trust type of thing with people.
Okay, okay. So trust building and relationship is really important to you, especially with someone that you don't know, like myself. You're going to need to have that trust and that foundation built to make you feel comfortable with going forward and opening up and talking about those sensitive matters.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything in particular that happened that made you want to seek counseling versus doing it another way, like you stated, handling it yourself? Anything in particular or
Um, I think it's just broken broken me down over time enough to where it's finally for me and my family to get some help.
Okay, so you feel you've reached a point where you've got to try a different route.
Hmm.
Okay. And then I see here some goals and expectations you put down, just finding better ways to manage your emotions during those stressful moments. Is there any, can you tell me a little bit more about that goal? Maybe any type of mental vision that you might already have, what it looks like?
Um, I think with it going on long enough, I feel like it's something that's going to probably continue to be there like internally. Um, but just finding ways of understanding when the moment's coming and trying to find ways to like deter that energy in a better way.
Okay. So essentially, what I've gathered from our first session and just getting those details is you notice that when you find yourself needing to go into public areas of large crowds, things that are responsibility based, not leisure activities. So that would be like grocery shopping or maybe going into somewhere to pay a bill or having to, traffic, things of those natures where it's a dedicated goal or task that you need to complete. You find yourself on a particular mental mission to get something done, get it done in a specific way or a certain time frame. And when you are met with those unpredicted variables being other people and how they're organizing their day or living their life, and it boxes you in and begins to prohibit you from being able to complete those objectives, you find yourself not only restricted and incapable of meeting those objectives, but you find yourself feeling anger, a little bit hostile, judgmental, overall just not pleased with your day and with something that you know needs to be done or that routinely gets done, because those outside variables are preventing you from being able to take on your day and go about your course as you envisioned needing to be done or happening. And
Right.
so you're here seeking counseling to have better ways to not only approach those situations before they happen, but better ways of processing while in the situation as it's happening, not only for yourself, but for your family as well. Given that you do understand that people in the world in crowds is not an event that we can take away, but how we show up to them and how we process within them maybe can help make the experience a little more enjoyable or not as devastating to where it doesn't take us as long to recover going home.
Right.
Okay. So what I would like to do is I would like to just set a couple of goals just to kind of give you just an insight, just a look into what we're going to be getting into next time we meet at our next session. I think that two main goals after reviewing your paperwork and then sitting here discussing with you that could be very helpful for us to start working on. The first one I would like to attack is reorganizing, reframing your personal thought patterns about anxious situations, meaning going into the situation before you've even gotten there, you understand, okay, I have to go grocery shopping today. Well, I know what grocery shopping at this store is like, and I don't like it because it's busy. There's a lot of people there. So, us maybe trying to reframe those thoughts from a negative perspective to a positive perspective, or at least a perspective where you know you can do this versus sitting in that negative thought so we can work on those thoughts before going into a situation. And then to help try to improve your experience in the moment, we can look at different techniques, exercises. Some people do stress balls, or maybe they have certain types of conversations with a trusted source while they're in those moments to help process the emotions that are arising versus bottling them in and just feeling them very intensely in a situation where they feel they can't express anything.
Okay.
And so, do you have any questions? Is there anything that you would like to add to our goals for our next future session, or any questions, any lingering thoughts that maybe you'd like to bring up?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, that is our time for today, but I want to say thank you for opening up and sharing with me. I'm very excited to meet with you next week and for us to talk more into this and to bring up some of those restructured thoughts and those techniques to help you process in the situation in the moment. And if you don't have any questions for me, that it was great meeting you.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye.